Good afternoon, everybody. It's, of course, Friday and time for another update. Don't know what to say about this week. Not particularly exciting. Nothing in terms of the game went wrong. Frankly, the only thing that went wrong this week is we're still having a terrible time trying to get a lease in Seattle for the team. It is, for those who live out there who are seeing this, you know the situation for commercial real estate. It's very different than Virginia. It's so easy here to get space. So, I'm unfortunately spending way too much time talking to realtors and landlords agents, and frustrating is a really good word. But that's it. Everything else this week actually has gone very well. I know it sounds a little repetitive at this point, but that's really how it is. It's great. Progress continues to be made. We're hoping to have a test this weekend. I'll know more as usual in a couple of hours. And to some of you who may see this video or see stuff on the forums about this, like why we always wait to the last minute, because we're not in beta yet. We're not in production, certainly, and we want to get the latest and greatest version out to you folks for testing. Usually, obviously, companies like ours wait a lot longer before giving versions to backers or to players. We don't believe in that. We want to get you guys in as quickly as possible. Usually our only major concern is it stable, or is it really something that is broken in ways that would make the experience thoroughly unenjoyable. So, once again, we hope to have it this weekend for alpha testers and IT testers. Won't be beta. This version is definitely not for beta players, but it is, we hope, for alpha players. There's a lot of new stuff in there, and it's definitely a version worth testing. So we'll let you know. Top 10ish. We start off with seamless zone transitions. So one of the things we have been talking about, for many months now, is our multi-server tech. We don't have a cool name for it yet. Maybe at some point we will. But it's just the tech that allows us to connect physically separate servers, actual servers, and treat them as one. And one of the things that, of course, we haven't been able to do yet is seamless transitions. Once that's in, and we're testing it now, that's a major checklist off, a major item off our checklist for Beta 1. After that, we move to being able to shoot projectiles and use abilities actually across servers. And once again, these are not zones on the same server. These are absolutely separate servers. That's what's made it more challenging, and it's something that so far we're doing a really good job with. Next up, the improved animation system. So as I've been saying every week for the last few, Andrew continues to iterate with the help certainly of Scott and Tyler, and Sandra's in on this as well, and progress keeps getting made. The animation system gets more and more functionality. Scott and Sandra get better at creating animations for it, and yeah, if you've seen stuff in game, you've seen obviously some of the improvements. Today we're going to release for everybody who hasn't been in the game video of the new walk and the new run that is already in the game. Last week, obviously, you saw the equip and unequip. Now you'll see the walk and the run. Andrew just got in the stationary jump. That only works on your client, so when you jump, you see what is the current state of stationary jump. Other people will not see that. But again, that's, first step. Next, player respawning. So this is only a temporary solution, guys, so no, please, freakouts. Right now, when you die, what will happen is you can respawn at the closest nearest plot that is owned by your realm, and if that doesn't work, at a respawn point. Obviously, I'll say it again, this is not how we expect responding to work in the real game. We've said right from the beginning that playing this game is not going to be like playing whack-a-mole, which this is. I mean, but again, beta, so we want that. Another improvement in our tech is logging. I know we talk about this all the time. It's not all that interesting to you folks, but it actually is to us. So Mark made another pass on logging, and now we have what are called contextual logging, so that we can actually tag logs with all sorts of different names, and then be able to search for the logs with those same tags, just as you can obviously through a website. So that's kind of helpful. Next, object integration. Well, in order to fire a catapult and do other things like that, or in this case, in our case, a scorpion, you actually have to be able to interact with the object. So we've got that going in, and after that, you'll actually, down the road, once that's in, you'll be able to use this as well to hot swap ability bars. So that's kind of cool. More tech, set and save editor workspace layouts. Yeah, that sounds like a lot that you probably don't understand why it's a lot, but it's a good thing. Bull has been working with the team so that they just have more functionality. Bull's the keeper of some of the editors for this game, so thanks to him, we've made the life easier of the people who have to use them. Next, manual aiming. So this is going to be a big one for us. This is one of those things where, as I've said to you folks in the past, we really want your feedback. Here's maybe the perfect example. Manual aiming for a game that has archery, that has projectile weapons, that has spells that act as projectiles. That's complicated, right? Because you have all different weapons which fire in different ways. You might want to fire an arrow straight on. You might want to fire an arrow like a projectile. Same with a fireball. Catapult, something like that, which is always an arc, that's fine. But then you have things like scorpions that don't arc in that same way. So how do you actually solve that? There probably isn't a single interface that's going to work really well for all of them, especially when you consider what is the 800-pound, or in this case, the 1 million block pound, gorilla. No, oh God, I have just lost that phrase. Oh, the ton gorilla in the room. There we go. Sorry, guys. But that's the problem. You have to be able to use the targeting system to target a block. You have to be able to use it to target a body part. You have to be able to use it again to lob into a courtyard. How do you fix that problem? How do you solve that problem? So what Matt has done, and we've been giving a lot of feedback on it, has to put in multiple modes, different ways, all different ways that you can aim. There are others that we're still going to put that we have not yet put in that we are going to put in. And that's what Beta 1 is going to look like. And certainly the rest of Alpha is going to look like. We want you folks to go in. We want you to try all the different modes and tell us on the forums what you like, what you don't like. Suggest other ones. One of the things I think you guys heard during, I think it was Scott's streaming session, was a bunch of us talking about aiming systems from other games. So if you have suggestions and you say, hey, these guys did it really well, let us know. Because we are looking not only at any idea we have here, but at other games as well. We want a solution. This is one of the things I say all the time to the team, and I've said to you folks as well. I don't really care what the aiming solution ends up being, as long as it's fun, as long as it's the best one, and as long as the vast majority of our players are happy with it. We know we won't make you all happy. That's fine. That's what always happens in games. So we're going to really want your feedback. I don't want us to go into beta with just our preconceptions about what aiming system is the best. That's where you folks come in. For years and decades, people have said, gamers have said, hey, we wish a developer would listen to our feedback. Hey, we even wish we had a place, to give our feedback. Well, in our case, folks, you have both. You have our forums, and you have a developer who actually gives a damn about what people say. Now, at the end of the day, we're going to still go with the one that we think best, obviously, but we want the feedback from you folks so we can look at different things. So we don't come in or go into beta thinking, hey, this is the one that's going to be absolutely the best and we don't care what our backers say. That's not how we do things. So please, folks, over the next, especially the next few weeks, really give us feedback on the manual aiming systems. Now, let me also say, these are all work in progresses. These things are certainly at this point, I'd consider all the aiming modes pre-alpha because they're just going in. Same with obviously the animation system. So please take the time, try some out, give us feedback, and give us other options as well. And I guarantee you, we're going to look at them. We're already looking at a whole bunch of games, as well as folks here have said, oh, by the way, I played this and I loved the aiming system. So why don't we check it out? That's what you folks should be doing for us. We will appreciate it. Next up, the player experience doc. So this is something I've been working on for the last few days. What is a player experience doc? Think of it as both a checklist for City State in terms of even more detail about what has to be in Beta 1, but more also for the players. For you backers who are wondering, wow, boy, I look at your checklist and where's everything else? Obviously, that checklist wasn't going to include everything that's in Beta 1. It was never intended to. What that checklist was for all for the most important items. Now, of course, before you panic and think, oh God, now they're pushing out Beta. No. It isn't that. It is just giving a bit more form and substance to what was, explained in a very general sense with the checklist, as well here for things, and I'm using the doc for also post-Beta 1 launch, so we can think about and talk with you folks about, as well, what should go in immediately after Beta 1. And when I say Beta 1, I mean launch of Beta 1, because Beta 1 is a long period. It may be the longest of all the different betas, depending on how things go. We want to make sure that we're going into an old school Beta 1, but then when we come out of it, we're in a really, really good shape for the rest of the betas. So this document is going to give you folks what you've been asking for, which is more information, and a very handy storytelling version of it will be done by Max, or multiple versions will be done by Max. For those who don't want to read a boring checklist, because the way I'm writing it, it is nothing but a checklist. One after another of all the things that should be in beta that, shouldn't slip through the cracks, that can't slip through the cracks, and also what things I think are most important, for the post period, or post Beta 1 launch period, prior to Beta 2. So, like I said, I've been working on it for a few days. I'm going to give it over to the team probably about middle of next week. And, when you see us release that to you folks, you'll know that we are getting close to announcing the date for Beta 1. Again, as I've said for many, many months, everything boils down to the animation system and the VFX systems being in place, and we're able to move Andrew and George off those systems and on to other things in the game. At that point, we'll have a very good idea of where we are, where we will be with Beta 1, not only in terms of content, but in terms of launch time. Next up, updated animations. Yeah, same as last week, same as the week before, same as next week. Many more things done in the animation system. In this case, there's a new knockback animation. We're waiting for integration from tech on that. An updated great axe swings, updated upper body combat. Okay, here's a big sentence. Updated upper body combat locomotion for the great axe. Now, what does that mean? Unlike other, not all, but most animation systems, we treat the parts of the body differently. So Scott and Sandra are not creating one animation that moves the parts differently. They're creating different parts of animation, which they're then put together live for you guys to see. Now, more details on this will happen when Scott and Andrew do a streaming session on it, but it's really cool. So yeah, more work there. Cleaned up some of the stuff that we saw in the Great Axe equip and unequip animation. Completed a test jump animation while running at travel speed. That's opposed to the stationary one I was just talking about. And continued updating the previous animations for poleaxe to support, again, full body animation, because that's what we have, a full body animation system. The Siege engine. So John is, completed the modeling and material side of the Scorpion. So you'll actually see some art from that in today's update, and that, of course, will be in the game. Willow trees. So you've seen some of the work that Dion was doing. She's continued to work on that, including the realm variations of the willow tree, because that's one of the things that we're going to do as often as possible, of course. Take a base model and change it around for the different realms. It's one of the most effective ways that we have for being able to reuse content and get things done in a reasonable amount of time. Next up is VFX, and Cross continues to test the bounds of the particle system, and all is going well there too. Mike finds issues, or finds out that there's even more joy in the system than he initially thought, which is how it should be. I think at the end, when you see the new system, when it's fully baked, you guys are going to be really pleased with it. It is so far fast. It is certainly powerful, and we've got access, and Mike has access to tech that he didn't have 3 weeks ago. So all is good. And that's it. Top 10-ish. Again, we're going to be having, we hope to be having a test this weekend for Alpha and IT guys. I'll let you know in the next few hours. I'm also working on the update. So plenty of good art, great art to show as well. And that's it. So Q&A, and then I'll get back to work.
All right, folks, write up your questions for MJ as we play the Q&A intro.
What's up?
Who are you?
Turn the stove off. Did I hear a dog?
Do you like my shirt?
Bueller?
When are this? Is this my spleen?
Now it is time to answer some questions.
Okay. Let's see. GMMG93 asks, in an ideal world where a combatant is doing just as much work as a crafter, will the crafter still make more money? If so, would there be a risk of a path of least resistance scenario where most combatants only help crafters instead of doing other realm activities because of profit?
Oh no, I can't. I don't want to say that can't happen, because every time a developer says that, it's not true. It shouldn't happen. Part of the way we're doing things, obviously, is very different from any other MMO. The whole king reward system, that really does allow us to very easily adjust what sort of profit both crafters and combatants can make from doing their thing. And could it ever get to the point that even a majority of people on the server were only doing crafter things because of money? I would hope not. Again, you never want to say never, but it would be the simplest of things once the realm reward system is in, to just go, hey, we've seen that the crafters are taking away or luring away combatants from RVR, because the RVR rewards aren't high enough. Then we'll up the RVR rewards. And then if it starts to go back the other way, we'll make other adjustments. That's part of any live game. I do think that the system we're using gives us a lot more flexibility than frankly any other MMO I've seen. But we'll just have to see how it works, once it's in there. Good question though, really good question.
Vesir asks, might be confusing, but for my question, let's agree that the most powerful spell a class can make due to the value cap will be valued at 1. Will there be spells that have a value cap of 0.5 that when comboed properly with another class's spell with a cap of 0.5 would end up with a power of 4, thus doubling the power they would have had if they had simply used their usual 1 power spells?
So what it boils down to is, could you combine abilities? Let's not just say spells, but can you combine abilities to make something even more powerful? The answer would be yes, but it doesn't mean that it is that simple, because it really won't be. Yeah, making a fireball pass through water to make steam, that's one thing, but to really combine other abilities, especially if it's two clothies working together to make a bigger fireball or to make a different fireball. Sure, they might be able to make something more powerful, but at the end of the day, it depends on how long does it take, what is the cost of making it. There's so many variables that you could throw into it, so it's not ever going to be as simple as, well, we can always just combine these things, and we should always just combine these things because it might get you past the cap. It doesn't really work that way in real life because, yes, maybe you can, well, and we'll just say that you can. That may also make you more vulnerable, or it may give the spells, the ability, additional weaknesses that allow it to be destroyed more easily. It's going to be a very complicated system, so I don't think that will be a worry.
Hippojax has a classic question. With the Beta 1 release upcoming, will we be able to start streaming the cube and other gameplay elements?
Well, cube certainly. The first thing that will, and I think I've said this before, the first part of the game that we will reveal, or not reveal, we will lift, because we have been talking about cube quite a lot, that will lift the streaming ban on will be cube, because it's just easier. It's the thing that, frankly, we're less worried about people seeing negative aspects too quickly, too early on in the process. And we've been very clear about that from the beginning. We're an old school beta, and if you release and allow streaming of beta, at least in the beginning, people will look at that and go, well, this isn't beta, I'm not interested in this product, because they haven't done the research on the game, because they don't know what we're trying to make. They don't know what we're trying to accomplish during the beta 1. Whereas cube is cube. That's different.
Andrew Cortesia asks, and I can answer this one, what is on the piece of paper on the Christmas palm tree above MJ? That has our city, it has our logo, and was a backer gift to us from, I think, Clan Sverker, cool guild. So they gave us a tree ornament. It's very nice. Scott the Rock asks, what all can a crafter buy?
Boy, what can't the crafter buy? Obviously, if we have a commodities market, they can buy any commodity there. They have to get deeded the right to owning a store, but then they can buy things for the store. Crafters will be able to buy everything that players can buy, with some additional things, obviously, or combatants can buy. Obviously, with a bunch of things that combatants either won't be able to buy, because we just say you can't buy it, or they don't have enough standing with the king to allow them to purchase certain items.
Alakan asks, hey, I want to know how you get over the pressure that the community is putting you through. Do you think that will affect the reputation or rep of the game?
I think the only thing matters at the end of the day is whether we make a great game. Is there a lot of pressure from, certain elements of the community? Yeah, absolutely. But there's always that. It doesn't matter whether you're a Kickstarted game or not. There'll always be people who are impatient. There'll always be people who disagree with an approach you're taking. This is true for anyone who makes a game. Overall, I think our community has been fantastic. I can't even count how many times I said that. The vast majority of you have been so patient, even though we are late. And we don't hide that. There's no, we just had to work a little hard. No, we're late. There's no other way to say it. At least no other way that we'll say it. And the vast majority of you, by far the vast majority of you, have been so patient with us. So, do I consider it pressure? No, not really. I have enough other things that I have to worry about to get too caught up in the we have to make a great game pressure that it would affect me every day. No, we're just doing our thing, and that is what we've been doing from the beginning, trying to hire great people, trying to make a great game. We have more interaction with our forums than I think any other at least major game I've seen. I certainly have not visited the forums of everyone out there. I visited quite a few, and I think that our level of interaction with the community is, if not the best, it's among the best. And really, the pressure, the worst pressure we have, quite honestly, is from ourselves, because we all, want to do our jobs well. We want this game to succeed. That's a lot of pressure.
Abducted Gaming asks, since it will take time for players to build things like keeps, when the game goes live, do you think CSC will have some sort of pre-placed ruins or structures to fight out of, or will all the combat just be open field?
Oh no, I've talked about this before. Of course there are going to be ruins there. They'll be scattered all over the world. Part of the job of crafters will be to help rebuild them.
Toto Tata asks, will there be mounted combat, mounted archery, mounted magery, mounted potion thrower, and chests lockpicking?
There are no plans right now for any mounted combat whatsoever. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's not that I don't like mounts. Some people think because there weren't mounts in Dark Age that I was against mounts. No, not really. I was actually all for mounts before mounts was a thing. I was outvoted. In this case, our concern with mounts is very simple. FPS. The bottom line is every time you add something else to the scene, that means you probably have to end up taking something away. Adding horses, adding all sorts of mounts would add to what will already be a chaotic, not only battle, but also for us a bit of a, we've got to be really smart about how we are designing all the rendering parts of our tech so that it can handle the large-scale battles. Whether a guy's on a horse or he's, on foot, doesn't matter much to our networking code. That's one additional tiny bit of information. Oh, but it matters a whole heck of a lot to the renderer. So, I'd love to have mounted combat in. I'd love to have mounts in. I really would. And this is something I've also said from the beginning. And I love pet classes too. It just doesn't make sense for our game, not now. In the future, certainly that's something I would love to see happen in Unchained.
And chests lockpicking?
Right now that doesn't really fit with the game, mainly because we've said that, we've said a few things. So first, that people's banks back in the safe cities are safe, and what you can take out into your homes, castles, keeps, etc., could be at risk. A chest system is certainly something that we could look at, but it's nothing that is really important to us right now, mainly because it doesn't fit, and it seems a bit too tropish, but we'll see. Because if you have a chest, well, how do you fit that suit of armor in the chest that never seems to be too
Infinitely
small.
expanding.
Yeah, thank you. That never seems too small, no matter how much stuff you put in. So we'll see. Again, not something that I'm against on any kind of philosophical, perspective, but I'm not sure it's something we're going to be spending a lot of time on. Same with lock picking, though that's a system or systems that I've seen in other games that I've liked.
Just adjusting my mic a little bit. Arcane Cloister asks, will there be autopathing?
That's something for another day. Sorry.
Real Life Gabo asks, will abilities, not just players, pass through different servers?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that's the whole point.
I think that was actually mentioned on the top 10.
Yeah. The whole point of the multi-server tech is that players and objects can move through. Otherwise, it's not really multi-server, right? If you your fireballs can hit, but you can't actually get over there. It's not the tech that we had talked about. So no, we wanted. So of course, you go through or you go server to server, and don't see any difference. It looked, oh wow, it looks exactly the same on this side than it did on the other side.
Archer K asks, will I be able to rob traders/crafters?
Oh, absolutely. We've said from the beginning that this is not, a full loot game. We've said that, that when you go out, whether you're in a caravan or in yourself, there's got to be some risk involved. The risk is not going to be, as we've said again, right from the get-go, that somebody kills you and they can take everything you have. We have not said that. We're not saying it now. But there has to be some risk. Balancing that risk is something we're going to do, certainly from now until when the game eventually shuts down.
Techno Spoon asks, will there be mechanics in-game to stop zerging?
Yeah, this is something we've talked about also before the Kickstarter, during the Kickstarter, after. Yes. The only reason I'm not going into detail is something I've talked about so many times. Just the thing to keep in mind about zerging is that anyone who's tried to solve it, or everyone who's tried to solve it, they've tended to focus on some of the wrong things. We're taking a slightly different approach. We'll see how that works.
Arcane Cloister asks, are there round things in Cube yet?
Not for players to play with. That's certainly something we've talked about, that in order to get the cylinder morphing to work the way that we need it to, we need a proper UI for you folks to actually use, and not, hey, we know how to use it, and it's really way too, not hard, but way too primitive for putting out for a test. There will be round things in Cube. We haven't seen any technical, hurdle yet. Just a question of time. And right now, unfortunately, that's not, a huge focus for us.
Goo asks, do you see CU building as strong of a community as early WoW once had?
Early WoW versus, say, another game I did, like, Dark Age of Camelot. I would say we'd be shooting more for Dark Age of Camelot in terms of the community than WoW. I was in WoW, starting with the family and friends bit. I would rather see the Dark Age community.
Goo also asks, will there be an arena somewhere in the game for players to compete within their own faction and maybe against other factions?
Yeah, this is something a lot of folks have asked for. Right now, the answer is no. That's not a permanent no. It's just right now, one of the things that I've said from the beginning is that we want to make sure that, everyone, and this just goes back to Dark Age days, the whole idea of realm versus realm combat and the realm versus realm setup was a very simple phrase that I used and still use, of everyone in your realm. The difference between RVR and PvP is in RVR, everyone in your realm is your friend, everyone in the other realms is your enemy. So I want to make sure that we don't put any systems into the game, mechanics into the game that could help or that could hurt those intra-realm bonds.
Zadrid asks, in terms of the design of getting Siege into the game, I'm curious how animations are made for the Siege. Is that something that Scott and Sandra will create animation clips for, then will pass through Andrew's animation system? Or is there some other way that's handled within the engine?
No, it's the same way. We'll be animating different things, of course, where instead of animating people, Scott and Sandra will be, animating scorpions or trebuchets or catapults or various other things.
Toto Tata wants to know if we can mount other players then, like giants.
Yeah, I'd love to see that because that would just be too funny. By the way, folks, I'm going to cut this short. 5-minute warning. Still got a lot to do today.
Alrighty. Lev Valine asks, about buildings made by players, how easy will they be destroyed compared to how much effort it took to build them? Can a quick raid destroy weeks of work?
No. A quick raid, in general, cannot destroy weeks of work. Of course, and here's where I have to sound like a lawyer. Well, it depends on what were the weeks of work. How much time did you put in? What kind of materials did you put in? Did you actually build a stable structure? Of course, how big was the raid? Was it 500 people, converging on a tiny hut? Maybe it took the guy weeks to build the hut because he only played, 2 hours a week. So, having said all that, the idea is certainly going to be that you will be able to build structures that are meant to withstand a very casual kind of a raid, or even a raid that's not so casual but isn't particularly powerful. That's kind of important. If you spend weeks or months on something, it shouldn't be as easy as coming in and huffing and puffing and your house fall down. That would be silly. On the other hand, if you guys can coordinate a huge, raid into enemy territory, and you really can just deliver massive amount of, siege engines and damage to a structure, could it, knock down the structure? Maybe not destroy it entirely, but destroy, damage its integrity and make some of the walls collapse and things like that? The answer would be yes. But again, that would require a huge and very organized use of force. And then the defensive systems, of course, have to not be working as well as they need to be.
I'm going to kind of jump through the questions here, folks. Just pick a few, so because we're strapped for time. So, rushing on ahead, Maricus21 asks, based on Foundational Principle 8, Epic Chaos of Awesomeness, will it be possible for an item to be imbued with amazing power in the middle of a battle, and then after the epic battle, that item be promoted to a relic of power for the realm that could be placed in the Keeper Tower and grant realm bonuses?
It's an interesting idea, certainly. I honestly, I can say I have never thought of that or even discussed it, that, you could take an object, a normal object, and then move it to something of epic proportions. Who knows? It's an interesting idea.
Bakayolo asks, will we be able to see an enemy's health when targeted or focused on, and at what detail level? Will there be visibly different damage state for each limb?
Well, that's what we're certainly shooting for. The whole idea, of course, is that, and this is something we've also said, is that we want as much as possible for the current state of the player to be reflected by what other players see. When will this happen? Will this happen? Obviously, we have to get other systems in place first. Once that's done, certainly we're going to be looking at that. In terms of other ways to tell if players are, what kind of state players are in, certainly there'll be other methods as well.
Trying to find like a good one to end on.
Sure.
Let's see. Well, here's a question anyhow. Hippojax asks, can we expect the naming system to be similar when fighting someone from an enemy faction similar to Daok and no cross-realm speech? I think it was great for keeping trash talk out of the game.
Yeah, no cross realm. I've said this. Oh my God! I mean, now it's going back 2 decades, which is really kind of scary when you think about it. Obviously, I was the guy who was against trash talking. It's not that I never talked trash in my life. I used to play a lot of basketball, and I, could do the whole trash talking thing. However, in Dark Age, my belief was that by not allowing cross-server chat, it really accomplished 2 things. One, of course, it eliminates trash talking because you just couldn't trash talk. The second is it also makes it, back then, it's easier now, cheating more difficult. But its major focus was, no trash talking. And I took some heat from that. Certainly when we announced it, there was quite a number of PvPers who were angry at me and thought, boy, that's a dumb decision. Really dumb decision. I didn't think it was, and I still don't think it is. Trash talking can really spoil the fun of the game. It really can. And the problem with trash talking, at least in my, from my perspective, is that, when you're doing a little trash talking on the court, it's one-on-one or just team to team, and then you have to back it up. And then the only people who are really affected are the other people you're playing against. And something like this, trash talking, because of the way communication works, can affect a whole lot of people. And you can hear stuff that, there are no repercussions for. If some of the things that I've heard in chat over the decades was said to any one of us in real life, we would be very offended. And sometimes, sort of in real life, it might mean taking a swing at somebody because they said things. In this game and games, you can't. It's all virtual. And even if in the game maybe you can, do something to that player, maybe you can beat them, maybe you can't, it makes a whole level of trash talking so much easier to do. And again, without repercussions. And so there is zero chance, absolutely zero, that we're going to allow cross-realm communication in this game through any means that we have. Again, we can't prevent people from being on different chat systems. Of course we can't do anything about that. But through our chat system, you will not be able to see what the other realms are saying. You will not be able, you will only understand your realm. You will not be able to understand their realm, and their realms, excuse me. And that is an absolute ironclad 100% guarantee for me, just as it was back in the 90s. No change.
All right. Well, do you want to end it there?
Yep.
All righty.
All right, folks. Hey, like I said, it's one of the in-between weeks for us, so it's only a top 10-ish list today, but we've got some nice artwork for you guys to look at. Of course, the top 10 that was mentioned here, maybe some other tidbits, but another good week. Progress continues. Hopefully next week I'll actually have a lease, in hand for a Seattle office.
Cross everything.
Cross everything. Send out good waves, karma, whatever works. Because this has been an interesting and eye-opening experience. I was not expecting, by any stretch of the imagination, it to be as difficult as it has been. But we are close, very close, and we hope to get that team in and, maybe get some other, help. We'll see. So that said, as always, we thank you for your patience. We thank you for your support. And hopefully we'll see some of you in the game over the weekend. So have a great weekend for those of you who celebrate Easter, have a happy Easter. For those who celebrate still Passover, happy Passover. And if you celebrate something else and I missed it, happy whatever. Sorry, I don't know all the holidays. So yeah, that's it, and I'll see you folks next week.
All right, see you later, folks, and possibly join us. We'll be hosting the Backer Swazi tomorrow evening, building in Cube.
Oh yeah, you'll see in today's update some of Swazi's continued greatness with the Cube system. We are incredibly fortunate. We have so many great builders already, and when you start at the top with Necro and Swazi, that's just fantastic. I can't wait. I mean, one of the things that I've wanted, I wish we could do, but I just can't sign off on, is more work with Cube right now. And some of our builders, including these guys, have been very patient with us because Cube hasn't gotten any real love in a while. I promise you, as soon as we get into beta, more effort is going to be put and time into Cube. We are doing some work on it, but that's all from our end in terms of stability, which to a lot of you builders you're not going to like, because buildings actually have to be stable in this game. But we are working on that. But after beta 1 starts, then you'll see us put much more effort into Cube as well, because by that point it's now really part of the game. Right now it's just fun for you folks, but by then what you build in Cube, how you can use blueprints from it, that's kind of an important part of Unchained, and at that point we'll be doing more work on it. So
I just want to jump in with thanks also to Arobi and any of our other Cube streamers.
Oh yeah, I thank you guys at least I try to thank them every week when I know they're streaming. But yes, Arobi as well, sorry, and others. We have so many guys who've contributed on the forums, with their works. Yeah, I can't wait. There's so much gorgeous, there are so many already gorgeous buildings and structures being made, and as we refine Cube more, add more obviously textures and other things to Cube, it's going to get even better. So yeah, wait till you see what's in today's update.
Okay, all right, see you later.